Hi, good morning. Part 2 of the step project for the Defender. I thought I'd just show you how we're progressing. This is an area under the passenger seat, as mentioned in a previous video, where the compressor is going to fit. So I'll be making a tray. In comes a tray. This is for the compressor to sit on. It mounts simply in the base next to the battery under the seat, like so. I've got 4 recesses there for the base of the compressor, which is now coming in. So that'll sit in there, that shouldn't wobble around too much. And the main compressor body bolts to this tray, which we'll show you in a few minutes. So let's just quickly whip that back out. I don't want to drill any extra holes in the truck, so what I'm utilising, the 2 holes are already here. There's one there and one over here. They're drain holes. Now I don't go off-roading, so it doesn't get wet, so I no need to drain. Although there are 2 more holes under the battery. This is a battery here. The control gear, I'll show you this in a little bit more detail on the bench. It's starting to get a little bit complicated, but this is a control gear that's going to operate the step. There's a pressure release valve, there's a gauge to alter the PSI to the steps. I think I'm probably going to need about 40 PSI, so that's all built in there, but we'll get this on the bench and I can go through in a little bit more detail with you. But yeah, that's under the seat, so let's go to the bench and I'll show you the control gear. Okay, this is a compressor. You've seen it before in a previous video. Under this plastic housing there's a relay that is operated by the switch on the top, and there's also overcurrent trip circuit breaker, basically fuse, depending on how you want to call it. They say it's a thermal trip. Yeah, okay, we'll go with that. But thermal trip switch, inside there's a 60 amp relay. The switch wouldn't normally be able to cope with 60 amps, hence the relay. I've already added a couple of different wires that came with it, so I can attach those to the control circuitry. What I want to do now though is open it up again and get on that switch. So I've basically got a control switch to operate the relay remotely, rather than a separate relay. I didn't realise there was a relay in here until I opened it up. The plan was on this that you'll see later, there was going to be a 70 amp relay in effect operating the compressor, but as it's already got one, all I need to do is bring a control switch cable out from the relay, so there's no need to have a separate relay here. I don't want 2 relays clicking away. So all I'm going to do is open the end here, put a control cable in for the relay and box it back up again. So we'll go ahead and do that now, and I'll show you when it's done. Okay, that's the compressor now with the control line fed through. I was expecting to switch this to plus 12 volts to turn the compressor on, but how it's already been configured by the manufacturers, I got to take this to ground for the compressor to come on. But that shouldn't be a biggie. That shouldn't be a problem really, as long as I know that. So right, okay, we'll get that out the way and I'll show you the control gear I've made up so far. Well, so far this is what I've got. It's starting to look a little bit more complicated than I'd expected, but nevertheless we'll go through it quickly. From the compressor we'll have the full up to 120 psi coming in through this port. It goes through a one-way valve so I don't get any back pressure. When the compressor's off, I should say, the air hopefully won't escape back to the compressor. So there's one-way valve here, goes to a 3-way splitter. This is your switch that'll turn the compressor on and off depending on the air pressure it senses. Switches off at 120 psi and back on at 90 psi. This output, a 10mm push fit output, that's for a future project. That's for external air for the vehicle. All I'm going to do for now is put a blanking plate in there, or blanking plug, so that's not going to be used. This is a 6mm output port. This is going to go off to a small air reservoir cylinder I'm going to use. I've not got that to hand, so I can't show you that, but that hopefully is going to stop the compressor running every time I need to drop the steps. So that's the air reservoir. Regulator valve and gauge, I'm expecting about 40 psi at the steps to be sufficient, so I can set that on there to any desired value I want, but as I say, I suspect 40 is going to be about right. And this will simply, this port, another 6mm port, that'll go off to the device you can't probably see too well underneath the equipment there. It's a 24-volt solenoid valve. And basically that'll switch between one state and the other to raise the step or lower the step. I'm yet to do the wiring on that, and there's a separate printed circuit board I'm making up for puddle lights, and also the remaining electrical connection gear for this. I'll maybe get that at the end of the video. It depends how far through I am on completing that. This, as I said in the past, this will sit on the mounting plate that the compressor will sit on, that's under the passenger seat in the vehicle. So it's going to be fairly compact, although, like I say, it's started to get a little bit more complicated than I first thought, but unfortunately, in my mind, all this is necessary. So yeah, well, that's all I've got to show you for now. If I can get the PCB in at the end of the video, I will. If not, that'll follow on at part 3 of the step. If you've enjoyed it so far, please give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing. That just helps my channel. Much appreciated.